Maybe not as spicy because a lot of these albums are considered pretty like bad. It's like the general consensus. But yeah, these are just like, you know, the diamonds in the rough, the hidden gems on these records that most fans skip from these big bands. And I'm sticking to core music this time. The first band on the chopping block. And this could be the most controversial. So let's start up with the spiciest one.
Before the truth will set you free, it'll piss you up.
Bring Me the Rise and Ammo is the first up on the chopping block, but let me reiterate the fact that I actually really like Ammo. But the general consensus among fans is that they don't really like this record. It's too much of a departure from their sound. But, you know, for me, I really like this record. What we're going to be doing is checking out SputnikMusic.com because I really like this site. This site, it takes like an average rating of like albums. You know, the community there is a little bit elitist. They're pretty snobby. Sometimes they're pretty much jerks, but I kind of agree with a lot of their opinions. So looking at Bring Me the Horizon, Ammo is sitting at 2.8 out of 5. That's The Spirit, the same 2.8. Suicide Season and Counter Blessings, another 2.8. So Sputnik Music is pretty tough on Bring Me the Horizon. You know, I've seen enough comments over the years to like, you know, realize that Ammo is kind of like a huge departure for the sound that a lot of like, you know, their core fan base doesn't love. And but you know, I first started listening to these guys with this song. Honestly, I love Bring Me the Horizon's evolution. I really do. But my favorite song on the record of Ammo is not just my favorite song off Ammo. I think probably is. I'm just going to say it. No, not probably. It is my favorite song from the band, actually. And it lives off Ammo. And it is Nihilist Blues. This music video, the tone has like a 90s European like house vibe to it, and the lyrics are like interesting, but also like the hooks are super catchy, but it's experimental. The structure of the song is really cool, and you guys know that I love structures. All right, let's move on to the next one. They're one of my favorite bands of all time, but they have this one record that was a misstep. And I'm talking about Underoath and Erase Me. So yeah, it seems like Underoath was getting inspired by Bring Me the Horizon big time. They even toured with Bring Me the Horizon after this record. Similar vibes to That's the Spirit. You know, this band was pretty experimental and heavy and post-hardcore, but they went really radio rock. It's not like terrible music, but considering what Underoath used to sound like this song is the intro to one of their best albums. And this song has a filthy breakdown section. So Underoath were like experimental, they were angry, so for them to write this radio rock generic sounding record was such a disappointment, man. So like looking at Sputnik Music again, 4.1, that's like really good. Anything above a 4 is pretty much a must listen, so Define the Great Lines of 4.1. But if you look at Erase Me, 2.7, it's their lowest. But the one song that fucking bangs, oh man, this was like their main single, On My Teeth. This song is a banger. Moving on, so I'm going to be moving on to albums that I don't normally listen to because I actually had to do a lot of research for this list, because when I don't go out of my way to look for a bad album. If it's getting like poorly received reviews and stuff, I'm like, why bother checking it out? I don't want to waste my time if people don't really like it. But next up is a metalcore act that I'm a little bit finicky about. They have a solid fan base. However, I find most of their music kind of generic, to be honest, but you know, they're still like really good. They're riffy and heavy, but the one album that generally like all fans really don't like is Wage War with Pressure.
I don't wanna do it alone.
pretty much like the general consensus that Pressure was like a disappointment. Like looking over on Sputnik Music again, 3.5, 3.3 for Deadweight, Pressure 2.3, Manic 2.9, right? And I like Manic, man. I checked out the new album. There's some solid songs on it for sure. But you know, I actually heard Wage War before going to Pressure, and like this song specifically, The River, is a fucking banger. Go! I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'll take a go over a bleh. Yeah, what's good about this song? It's just like relentless, man. It has so many grooves, so many fun riffs. It just keeps on going. So yeah, my opinion about Wage War is that they're not reinventing the wheel or anything. They're just a solid metalcore band. Like, they got good riffs, good vocals, good energy. It's like everything that you want in a metalcore act, right? But Pressure, you know, when I was reacting to songs off Pressure, I'm like, the structures are so cookie cutter, and to be honest, it's not really terrible. I don't think it's actually terrible. I think it just, the fan base just really wants Wage War to be heavy and riffy because that's what they're really good at. Instead, they really tried to branch out and almost kind of like sell out, and the songs itself were just overproduced. Does it ever go away? It's not for me at all, this kind of style of music. But I do respect the band for actually trying to experiment. I think that's actually cool, and for them to, you know, try branching out from their style a little bit. But the songs were just a little bit like, yeah, like I said, cookie cutter, a little bit formulaic, and the hooks were pretty catchy at times. But the one song that stands out on this Wage War record is their main single, aka Doomsday 2.0. Yeah. So yeah, this song bangs, even though, yeah, the riff is a total copy of Doomsday. So yeah, so that's my thing about Wage War. They have a massive following. They're pretty damn successful for metalcore standards. But to me, their music isn't not really like something I go back to a lot. All right, guys, let's move on to... Oh. I'm excited for this one. Yeah, Architects. Architects is the one because I love this band, but their music is a little bit inconsistent at times. They were a heavy, mathy band back in the day, and then they went into a whole different direction with The Here and Now, an album that is kind of overlooked. Yeah, so you guys are saying you dig it. I do too. I actually like this record quite a bit. Even when it dropped, I didn't mind it. But, you know, even the band doesn't like this record. They don't play any songs off it live because it was so poorly received that they kind of just scrapped this record from their discography, which is kind of disappointing because there are some bangers on it. But looking at Sputnik Music again, actually, it's not even the worst ranked album. So, you know, they generally get 3.6, 3.6, 3.8, and then The Here and Now is a 2.8. Daybreaker 3.4, All Our Gods 3.8. For Those That Wish to Exist is a 2.6. But, you know, this record, I didn't choose this one because it has like a really dedicated fan base and the band really likes it. The Here and Now is kind of the controversial one, but, you know, diehard fans like myself actually do like this record. But to give you an idea of what they sound like, to give some perspective on why people don't like this record, is because they first sounded like this. And this fucking part right here. See, this was the album before that. That's why people didn't like it. It's like, damn, what the hell happened to these guys? And give you another idea, this is the album that is constantly overlooked. Architect's first record is actually really good, and it's Ruined. This song is called Buried at Sea. Almost a completely different sounding band. But yeah, The Here and Now, I don't mind the album, and this song specifically is a banger. It's still one of my favorite songs the band has written, and it's Day In, Day Out. The years I put into that, and I can't understand what I always hear pooing. Ooh, next up is another band that I had to do some research on because I don't really listen to these guys, but I know that they're not the most like positive received band in metalcore or deathcore, really. And Richard Janvrin, are you in the chat, man? Because he's going to be pissed because I'm talking about Emmure and their album Eternal Enemies.
Before I put you on the fucking ground, bitch.
Yeah, I cannot do a lot of Emmure's music, man. I've heard them back in the day, and I just thought that they were cheesy, pissed off core music. And they're notorious for that. The lyrics are absolute cringe, but there's something genius about this band. They have such a dedicated following, and they really leverage that cheesy, pissed off core music, man. But let's open up Sputnik Music. 2.9, 2, 1.6. 2.4, 2.1, and 1.7 for Eternal Enemies. So technically, this record, Felony, is the worst on Sputnik Music. But I was like doing a little bit more research and just reading people's comments and opinions. A lot of people seem to agree that Eternal Enemies is the worst album. So I actually had to like listen to the album to kind of figure out what I think is the hidden gem. But before we talk about the hidden gem, I want to talk about Emmure. I don't think, like I said, there's like a certain kind of genius to this band and their marketing and their brand. They know what they're doing, and the new record is really good, actually. Well, it's good. It's not really good, but I think a big help is Joshua Travis. So Pig's Ear, this song's a banger, man. So yeah, like the new stuff is not that bad, and I think, like I said, Joshua Travis, who joined the band later on, brought a lot. He brought a lot of groove and bounce and gentiness to the band, because the instrumentals are they're really good, and Frankie's a damn good vocalist. His style's not for everybody because he has like a strong nu metal vibe, but the one song off, you know, the record that is considered like not very good is We Were Just Kids, because most of this record, just, you know, when I was going through it, it's just breakdown city, pissed off core with cheesy lyrics. It gets redundant really fast, man. Like, there's a couple like decent tracks here and there. I think Nemesis was pretty good, but like, man, for like 45 minutes, I think this record it gets old really fast. But this one song, which is the last song off the record, shows melody, shows emotion, which, like, why save that till the very end of the record? But yeah, this is We Were Just Kids. Exactly, right? That's what I'm saying. But like, yeah, the chord progressions and everything, and like there's like a sense of emotion and meaning behind the song rather than just being like, I know everyone hates me, suck my d. Oh shit, can I say that? Well, that's what he says, right? All right, let's move on to the next one. Ooh, this one. Everyone's going to be like in agreeance. Is that a word? Am I just making up words? Everyone's going to be agreeing with this one. I'm talking about A Day to Remember. You're welcome.
When I wake up, the cross above my bedding's like a question mark above my...
You know, the general consensus is that it's garbage. Like, it has awful reviews, and I was going through this album to prep myself for this live stream. Like, this live stream could have been like last week or the week before, but like I had to go through these albums to like really come up with this list, right? So yeah, this band usually gets 3s, 3.2, 3.6, 3.3, 3.1, 3.5, 3, 1.5 for You're Welcome. Everyone's kind of familiar with these guys. Like, this is what they used to sound like.
Disrespect your surroundings.
I don't mind their music. I think they're a fun time, but it's not something I actually listen to a lot of. But, you know, my favorite song from them has always been this track, which is the very first song I ever heard from them.
Let's go!
Yeah, they're just a fun, like, easy core kind of band, right? But the new album, they really kind of jumped ship because they went into more just pop direction, which doesn't seem like a bad idea on paper, right? Because A Day to Remember has always been like a really heavily focused pop band with just like breakdowns. Like, their choruses have always been extremely poppy. So for them to make a pop record doesn't seem like out of the blue. I think the thing is just the songwriting is just choppy. The mixing is like unusually bad, but you know, there's actually a couple songs I don't mind, like Resentment. I actually don't mind that track, but this song, when going through it, I realized this track isn't that bad. I don't mind this song, and it's called Permanent.
Wait, it's so permanent, always rearranging IKEA.
Yeah, so like the chorus is good. It's just like, I think this just takes Day to Remember's like pop punk kind of sound and just does a good job with it. You know, Permanent I think is the best song off the record personally, but this song's not that bad either. It's Last Chance to Dance. Let's move on to another band that I had to do some research on because I don't really listen to these guys. To me, I've never really cared for their music too much, but this one album seems to be like, yeah, people do not like this record. Asking Alexandria, and the album is like a house on fire. I don't necessarily hate it, and I think that could be a reason that I just never really listened to Asking Alexandria, so I don't really have any personal bias with the band. But looking at, again, Sputnik Music, their very first record is not doing too well. 1.8, but then they got 2.5, 2.7, 2.4, 2.6, 2.5, Like a House on Fire, 1.8. Yeah, so the thing is, the band used to sound like this.
Oh my God!
So I think a lot of people really like this song because of the nostalgia, but I actually would take stuff off Like a House on Fire over this. Come at me, come at me. The crabcore stuff I find is pretty cheesy. Another song, A Prophecy. Yeah, I can't do the crab anymore, man. I would break my back. That's why. I'm too old for that shit. So, actually, going back to the album that everyone hates, I actually think this song is pretty damn good. It's The Violence. Like, it sounds like Imagine Dragons a little bit.
All I wanted was violence to plant the seeds and divide us.
This is the best song off this album. Well, to be honest, I won't ever go back to this album. Asking Alexandria is a band that I just won't go back to, but to come up with this list, I had to listen to some bands that I didn't necessarily want to be honest. All right, let's move on to another one. Okay, this is a band that I do like. Well, when I was younger. Then they just went like butt rock and they lost their edge completely, dude. Is Bullet for My Valentine with their album Temper Temper. Yeah, I totally agree with the ratings here. Like The Poison, 3.5, Screaming Fire, 2.9, then 2.7, Temper Temper, 1.7, Venom, 2.8, Gravity, which is another album that a lot of people don't like too. They were sick back in the day. The Poison and stuff was really cool, and this is the very first song that I heard from them. It's because I heard it off Burnout Revenge, I think that video game, and it's Hand of Blood. So yeah, that was the first song I heard. It's still a banger today, but come on. Come on.
Let's go!
So, you know, the best song off Temper Temper, why this song is the best song off Temper Temper is because it's literally just a reimagining of Tears Don't Fall. And it's Tears Don't Fall Part 2.
Let's go again!
See, let's go again. How about that? The chorus is just weak in comparison to the first song though, man. Oh yeah, I forgot. This list is supposed to be bangers off these records, but it's tough, man. Out of all the songs that I heard on this record, this is the best one, and that's literally just because it's just like a part 2 to their main hit, right? Next up is another one. Again, had to do some research because I don't listen to these guys too much, but I am very familiar with this album and the reception that it got. And yeah, this, just like A Day to Remember, this is one of the most poorly received records in core music, and it's Suicide Silence with their self-titled record. Yeah, I gotta admit, that's one of the funniest things Jared Dines has done. he kind of ruined the song because there's some cool moments in it. Like, honestly, the intro is not that bad. And the breakdown at the end is kind of cool too. Yeah, a lot of people don't like this album. So again, we'll go to Sputnik Music. The Cleansing, 3, 2.7, 2.8, 2.5. Oh, 1.4. I think that is the lowest that we've seen so far, guys. Yeah, 1.4 is the lowest. You know, Suicide Silence, I've heard like the odd song here and there. I had buddies that listened to them back in high school, and you know, because of this reaction channel, I've heard a couple more. Ooh, that's loud. You know, Suicide Silence was known for like the chunky kind of like riffage and just like pounding kind of drums with like Mitch's amazing vocals, man. His vocals are insanely impressive. His range and his tone is so wicked, and his lyrics are kind of like, they're pretty badass. Like this song, No Pity for a Coward. Their self-titled record is such a disappointment that I like for fans, because you know, this is what they sound like, right? They were pioneers of deathcore, and then for only them to change into this new metal Korn Deftones kind of like record was just like disappointing. And the thing is, like, okay, it's cool that bands are evolving and trying to like, you know, change their sound, and bands get older, they don't want to keep playing heavy music. I can get that. It just sounds messy, it sounds sloppy, and you know, the clean vocals are just, they're rough. They're so rough, dude. But the one song that I thought is pretty interesting is Dying in a Red Room, and even still the vocals are just, they need some work, man. But this song sounds like a mix of like Tool and Deftones if they had a baby. It's Suicide Silence, right? Like obviously, like we were just listening to The Cleansing and then hearing this completely different band. And I saw a comment that kind of ruined the song for me. This is what Deftones would sound like if they were deaf. You know, I would pick like their main single, Doris, like, but that tee-hee just ruins the song for me. All right, this is the last one that I have here. So the last band on the list is one of the OG metalcore bands. They wrote one of the best metalcore albums. And just saying that, you guys can probably assume what it is, but I'm talking about All That Remains, and the record that is amiss is Madness.
History repeats itself over and over again and again.
You know, there's like a repetition here where a lot of bands, they're evolving, they're not getting as heavy, but they're kind of like, they're not really experimenting enough. They're all just kind of going into butt rock territory, and I think that's why a lot of these their fan bases are disappointed. So going to Sputnik Music again, yeah, Fall of Ideals 3.8, 3.5, 2.8, 3.1. But yeah, the order of things is 1.8, Madness 1.7. But you know, this is what the band used to sound like. This song is a fucking banger. Yeah! So, and I think a reason why this record is actually so good is their drummer, man. The drummer for this record was only on this album, but I remember the double kicks. I was like, I think 14 years old when I heard this song, and I remember just being blown away by the kicks. I'm like, oh my God, this is so heavy. This is so cool. Another banger, 6. And so, yeah, the band has always been trying to capture that sound. And, you know, they're still trying to experiment along the way. So they're including a lot more clean vocals, a lot more butt rock focused song structures and stuff. I don't necessarily hate it. Not like some of these other albums where I'm like, I find it really hard to go through the albums. So Madness, I actually don't mind it. Like this song, I used to jam out to this song quite a bit, and it's Halo. This is off Madness. This one song is the hidden gem off the record, and it's the intro to the album. This is the most All That Remains song off this album, and it's Safe House. Again, it's just, it doesn't really come close to the Fall of Ideals, but this song is a nice callback to the old stuff, and this is the best song off the record when going through it. Again, Halo is like a little bit more of a guilty pleasure of mine, but Safe House is just a nice heavy track. All right, guys. So that is 10 songs on bad albums. Guys, do you agree or disagree with my list? Also, what's missing on this list? Let me know.